Like a Dragon Infinite World's ending is one of the most polarizing thing in the fandom. Whether you like the finale or not, just downright tells us how there's a lot of unanswered questions that the story left. Fortunately, Pirate Yakuza solved these plotlines and made Infinite World's story feel more complete. So here's every question in Infinite Wealth that was answered by Pirate Yakuza. But before that though, if you think Majima is the hottest 60-year-old, then like this video and join Otaku Define for more Like a Dragon content. The biggest mystery of Like a Dragon 8 is actually its title, Infinite Wealth. Like, what even does that mean? Ichiban certainly didn't find any treasure along his journey. I did try explaining what Infinite Wealth meant, but Pirate Yakuza literally provided us the answer. Infinite Wealth is actually the lost treasure of Esperanza, the very treasure that Majima, Noah, and the rest of the Goro pirates have been searching for, as this treasure is said to be worth around $1 billion. But the ending revealed that it could have fetched a higher price than their estimate, taking into account that the treasure contains numerous pieces of 8, a silver coin minted from the late 1500s, which is clearly the design inspiration for Infinite Wealth's logo. These pieces of 8 are approximately valued at $23 per troy ounce. Of course, its value can change depending on its condition and rarity, as some coins can be found listed online priced at around $200 to $1,000. But despite these prices, that's certainly not infinity, right? Since billions, even though that's a huge number, it's not unlimited money, just as the greedy billionaires. Well, since the lost treasure of Esperanza hides another piece inside that is worth more than all of these golds, and that's the elixir of life, rumored to grant anyone long-lasting vitality and even immortality. It really does connect the treasure to the whole Infinite Wealth title. Because of this, I have a resting suspicion that Ichiban was supposed to find the lost treasure of Esperanza in Nele Island after defeating Bryce. But RGG Studio changed their minds and used that plot for Majima's pirate adventure. I mean, it does make sense that Bryce would have possession of this treasure, since this also answers his long life, that despite being 90, he can still do stunts like this. And aside from Bryce's pseudo-immortality, Pirate Yakuza actually did him more justice by unraveling neat stuff about him, such as owning an illegal underground island with his business partner, Queen Michelle, which coincidentally told us that Michelle had connections with influential people from Europe. So maybe this is RGG Studio teasing us that the next game might take place in United Kingdom, maybe Italy, or even Spain. Pirate Yakuza also told us the fate of Palekana, especially the Haku, as not all of them were arrested after the whole nuclear waste incident. We learned that not all of them are faithfully devoted to Bryce, which is actually good, since it makes Akane's dedication to rebel against Bryce and help Lonnie much more believable. And among those not-so-faithful Haku is Rodriguez, who decided to stay in Nele Island in hopes of finding the lost treasure of Esperanza, which was also the whole reason why a bunch of Yakuza started helping with the nuclear waste disposal. At first, I thought that this initiative was made by Daigo or Majima, but it turns out Shigaki was the one who proposed this project. Of course, it was a front to search for the lost treasure, but that doesn't mean that they're not cleaning the nuclear waste, as they are also being supported by Chitoses' rich family, the Fujinomiya group, fulfilling her promise to help as a form of repentance for getting Ichiban involved in the whole Infinite Wealth story, as well as dragging the ex-Yakuza's name in the mud as puppeteered by Ebina and Eiji. This also answered our questions as to what Daigo, Majima, and Sejima had been up to prior to the events of Pirate Yakuza. Sejima revealed that they are still engaged with helping ex-Yakuzas find a new place after the Great Dissolution, a toil that will never get done so easily nor quickly, which I find realistic, that RGG Studio didn't choose to have them magically fix the problems of the Great Dissolution, and instead leaned more on its dire effects, producing villains such as the RK of Lost Judgment, Ebina and Eiji in Infinite Wealth, and now Shigaki in Pirate Yakuza, who's trying to clean up the nuclear waste, the very thing that caused Kiryu to get cancer. And speaking of which, Pirate Yakuza also told us that Kiryu is still fighting his illness, as we saw in Majima and Sejima's solemn discussion about chasing dreams. While they did say that Majima's whole reason for going to Hawaii was to find a cure for Kiryu, that much tells us how grave Kiryu's condition is. And this will be the very focus for the story of Like a Dragon 9, especially considering that the final chapter was penned by Yokoyama himself. It's unfortunate that we didn't get an update on Kiryu's and Haruka's current relationship, and it's one of the questions left unanswered in Pirate Yakuza, as again Yokoyama has said that he now has in mind what he wants to happen for Kiryu's future. There's also other things that Pirate Yakuza wasn't able to explain that happened in Infinite Wealth that we might see in Like a Dragon 9, which is absolutely fine considering we need some setups for the future installments. But there's one important question I want answer to, and that is, who thought dating Goro the Tiger was a good idea for a sub-story?
So please, no more words. At least for right now, I want you to only have eyes for me.
Goro.
This was really weird, and I hope Majima was just remembering his Kyodai and not into tigers. Anyway, I'm really curious to see what will happen in Like a Dragon 9, such as what has the Daidoji faction been up to. While it does make sense why this faction didn't appear in Pirate Yakuza considering they don't have any ties with Majima, the Daidoji is an interesting group, since they said that their power and influence was waning during the events of Infinite Wealth, which explains why they couldn't get information about the Palekana and Bryce Fairchild. But since the Daidoji faction won the whole political battle against the people involved in the nuclear waste disposal, they once again hold tremendous power. It will be interesting to see in Like a Dragon 9 if they're going to be helping Kiryu's full recovery, or maybe even grant him a reunion with the orphans, and ultimately what the future has in store for Shishido, since in Lad Gaiden, if you remember, we saw him getting kidnapped and possibly being trained into a secret agent. We also didn't get any updates on Eiji despite Ichiban appearing in the final chapter. Ebina wasn't also mentioned in the main story, but I'm fully convinced that these two won't be playing any major roles for Lad 9, which explains their lack of involvement, although I'm really curious about Yamai's situation. While we know he turned himself in Infinite Wealth, I'm hoping that he still joins Ichiban's party in the future, because come on, he's the coolest character introduced in Infinite Wealth, and I hope we get to see more of him. Now, even though Pirate Yakuza is a spin-off game, it's great to see that it managed to answer a lot of questions we had for Infinite Wealth. And while Lad 8 didn't come off as a universally beloved game like Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Like a Dragon, I still very much enjoyed it, even its flaws, which actually helped Pirate Yakuza since they learned from it and gave us a really satisfying ending, and that's because of Samoa Joe. If you're curious about that, then check this video out. Join Otaku Define for more Yakuza content. This is Math, and stay awesome, my Anikis.